Dorchester, $50,000 dash for cash is underway as they fly through the patterns. John Walters, Canada Insulation holds them all three wide. He's got the rail with Tim Harrelson alongside. Troy Dorchester to the outside, and a Tommy Dorchester dash for cash has reached the backstretch drive with Tim Harrelson. Through Tubing Solutions coming through the middle of the pack. John Walters, Canada Insulation hanging on to that rail, and Troy Dorchester. Team Riggin Supply around the outside. Here they come to the wire. The louder you cheer, the quicker you'll get here. Tim Harrelson through Tubing Solutions. John Walters trying to make it come back, and here comes Troy Dorchester from the outside. The horses of Troy Boy are going to win this one tonight. Troy Dorchester by a nose at the wire.
For all you that don't recognize me, it's Troy Dorchester. First time I've ever had facial hair. No, I'm trying to bug the wife, but she don't mind it, so I'm gonna have to shave it off the next day or two. But I don't like it. It drives me bonkers. I thought it'd make her mad, but it doesn't. No, we're looking forward to getting back to the season. Missed it. I had so many days last year in these guys, and had probably one of the best spring trainings I had. I probably had 50 days in by June 1st, 60 almost, and things were going good. I had a lot of new ones, and then bad news hit, and it was tough to take. It was 2 years in a row, and as you can see, we try to run our operation as good as we can, and a lot goes back into the farm and my horses. So it was a tough decision last year, but financially it was probably a good decision for me. I know a lot of guys, I missed it. I went to High River, I went to Pinoca, and one night at both, and all it did was made me madder that I wasn't doing what I loved. And it's been such a good sport to our whole family. The Dorchesters, there's been 5 drivers, Dorchester family members, uncles and grandpa, all raced off this land. My grandma kind of asked everybody if it was all right. Troy was interested in buying it, and I was lucky that my aunts and uncles all agreed, and here we are. And we had a good sponsor in 2000, or about 97 till about 2010, Bill Singh, a huge wagon supporter. Not just myself, but we bought other wagons at certain shows, and he built this track for me. And it's pretty nice when you can drive 200 yards and be on a racetrack like this. It's a lot of maintenance. Just put probably $3,000–4,000 worth of sand on the track. Fortunate enough, a good friend of mine, Troy Manade, gave me his sand trailer, and I hauled it with my own truck, so the trucking was cheap, and it was just the sand cost. The new ones, they all Vancouver horses. One horse come out of the east, broke them last year. They all drove amazing. I had a kid with me 3 years, Quinn Langevin, who's decided to go outride in the CPCA. He's a good kid, and we had a lot of fun and broke a lot of horses, and we drove every day just about for probably 30 to 40 of them days, and we got some nice new ones, and I'm excited to see what they're gonna come. I sent a couple horses over to the CPCA last year and gotten some races, and probably should have sent a couple more, but whatever, that's the decision I made. And excited. Got a core group I kept. I got about seven or nine, nine, I guess, broke horses. It's all been with me for years, and just trying to place them now, and that's really beginning here right away. We've been driving the new ones in 4s, or in 2-ups, and the 4-ups are getting going. Had a hand injury early, so we're about 2 weeks behind on our hooking and driving, but I'm been driving 2-ups now. Cousin Ricky come and helped a week ago, and I think I got 5 outfits, and we'll get her down to 4 before we leave, and maybe throw a couple in the outriding pen, or some horses might need a year off too. There's a couple young ones there that I don't like to take 4-year-olds with us. They're driving really nice, but 4-year-old on a horse is pretty tough. As many miles as we travel, it's a little different at the racetrack because they're fortunate they get to go and sit at one place, and us, we put a lot of miles, and hauling miles, that is, and it's better just to wait till they're 5 usually. I call them the babies. There's two 5-year-olds, 2 4-year-olds, and 1 3-year-old. The 5-year-olds will probably be hauled this year and get hopefully in some races, 1 or 2 even. The 4-year-olds, they stand out. They're probably the best out of the other 2 5-year-olds, and but I don't want to rush them either. They're young, their body's not fully developed, so I just assume they're getting their teeth, their last year growing teeth and everything, so it's kind of just, I'll probably give them, their 40-50 days here at the farm on the truck. We drive them kind of every 2nd or 3rd day, and then when we get closer, we'll probably just turn them out for the year. Just kind of graduating them. Like the 5-year-olds last year, they had an awesome spring training. They seem like nice horses. We don't know how fast they are or anything like that, so we'll but anything I hooked them with, they seem to dangle for a 1/4 mile, and they're not they like their job, definitely. They both carry themselves like they should be able to stay in the game for a long time. And the oldest horses I got are 16 and they're 5, so they could be here 10 years, right? So it's kind of exciting, because I mean, they weren't broke to ride. They just got a bit in their mouth, and you got a breaking horse, and you just take and go, and they took to it pretty good. We break them on a cart, just a little lighter, easier going on them, and the workhorses stay 1 speed, and so they get used to it, and by day probably 2 or 3 you can tell that they're enjoying it. We call him Gib. He's just a 3-year-old. He's got attitude. Some days he comes up and just loves being petted, and the next day he's got his ears pinned like leave me alone. So I have them days too. He's gonna be a big horse. Like, he's got a lot of growing to do. He's probably, I'd say, 15.3 right now, and he's really filling out since we started driving him, and getting some days on the truck. Yesterday when we drove, he really was nice. He put his head where he's supposed to, and drove good. So it's actually been fun, because you learn to kind of get patience that you hadn't had for a long time when you get some young horses. Rocky, he's like a kid's pony, but when you push on, get him on the wagon, he's a bear. He just drops his head and just drives. He loves it. It's the CEO of Dorchester Racing right there, and she gets the day off. Not really, because she's going to help you. Okay, so we'll do those guys over there. You take 3, I take 3. Connor's got his playoff beard. He's an Avalanche.
Okay, see you guys later.
Okay, yeah.